So if you were in the Miraculous fandom at any capacity, you might have heard of the Miraculous Awakening movie. It's been in the works for a while, people have been talking about it for ages, and it recently premiered in the US on July 28th on Netflix. Which is awful, because as a community, I think we were all looking forward to taking a trip to the theaters, seeing our teenage furries on the big screen. Psych. So in normal Miraculous fashion, the movie release was in fact a mess. They did end up releasing the movie in select US theaters, and you best believe I went to go and see it. By the way, the movie was also renamed Miraculous Ladybug and Cat Noir, the movie. I believe it was Jeremy Zag's passion project with a budget of $80 million. If I had to describe it, I'd say it's a tribute to Miraculous. I mean, the events that happen in the movie are like in a separate alternate universe than the events that are happening in the show. And you know, in the movie, unlike in the show, you have a sense of satisfaction. I mean, the ending wraps up pretty nicely, and that never really happens in Miraculous, no. If you're done with the show because it's just a train wreck at this point, I still recommend watching the movie. It was really cute, it was a fun time. Also, if you stopped watching Miraculous, I recapped seasons 4 and 5 not too long ago, and I might say some spoilers that happened in those seasons, so just a heads up. But before we really start talking about the movie, let's talk about the sponsor of today's video. Thank you so much to Aura for sponsoring today's video. Have you ever Googled yourself and were shocked to see your personal info exposed on one of those public listing sites? Recently, my mom searched herself up and found herself on said public listing sites, and it exposed her address, phone number, date of birth, email. And the crazy thing was that everything was accurate. And it's super unsettling to realize with a quick Google search, anybody that knows your name can find all of this information. Data brokers are making a fortune selling your information to robocallers, spammers, and others who want to learn more about you, like where you live, those sly dogs. Aura can identify data brokers exposing your info and submit opt-out requests on your behalf. Brokers are legally required to remove your info if you ask them to, but they make it super hard to do. Let Aura handle it for you. Seriously, when my mom did it, we did not have Aura yet, and it was very much a hassle. Also, Aura does so much more to protect you and your family from online threats you can't see. It's really easy to set up, so you don't have to download a bunch of different apps to get things like parental controls, antivirus, VPN, password management, identity theft, insurance, and more. You get everything at one affordable price. Let Aura do the hard work of keeping you safe online, so you can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. You can either let people continue to exploit and profit off your private information, or you can go to aura.com/todhunter. This link is also in the description below, or scan this fabulous QR code here right on the screen. Whichever way you choose, you'll get a 2-week free trial of Aura. Thanks again to Aura for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to the movie. So the movie starts out with Master Fu explaining the Miraculouses, and he goes through, you know, the ladybug, the cat one, and then he gets to the butterfly one. He was like, this one is dangerous and evil because it can create villains. Which, you know, fair enough. I feel like he was trying to foreshadow the rise of Hawkmoth and whatnot, which is fine, but I feel like he did Nuru a bit dirty. Like, I don't think the butterfly Miraculous is inherently evil, right? We've never seen the butterfly Miraculous used for good, but I imagine since it, you know, preys on negative emotions to create villains, it could also use good emotions to create heroes. Has that ever been explained? Anyway, then we get introduced to my girl Marinette, and the movie makes it very clear that she has 0 friends. So we see her interact with Tom and Sabine, very cute vibes, and then she walks out the door of the bakery and immediately bursts into song. That's right, it's a musical. I forgot that fact when I was watching it. And you know what? I loved it because I love musicals. I thought all of the singers did a really great job. The songs were cute, they slayed, but I will say, Marinette's singing voice wasn't done by Christina V, who is the voice actress who portrays Marinette in the show and in the movie. And I felt very ripped off because Marinette's voice is very distinct. Christina V actually is a beautiful singer, but they use a different actress to portray Marinette's singing voice, and she sounded very different from how like Marinette would have sounded if she started singing, and it was a very jarring experience for me because the voices were just so different. I didn't feel this way when the other characters started singing, but for some reason Marinette's voice just really bothered me. What I liked about this movie was that even though the animation style is different, as you can see, they retained some of the same aspects from the show, like the way the characters walk or their facial expressions, which I thought was a nice touch. So in terms of introducing characters, Marinette is still a klutz. Chloe is still a menace who bullies Marinette at every opportunity. Natalie slays. I don't know what it is about this design of her character, but I loved it. Gorilla is not in the movie, unfortunately. Gabe is still so ugly, so trash. Look at his hair when he was younger. Oh my god. Alia and Marinette met on the first day, and even though I love my girl Alia, she was low-key very rude. So Marinette was getting bullied by Chloe and Alia had to intervene. And then one of the first things Alia said was like, wow, you had a line of friends waiting to help you. And obviously that was sarcastic because Marinette, like we've mentioned, has 0 friends. And then like 2 seconds later, she was like, Marinette, you would have to try to fail that hard, like just in general. So within 5 seconds of meeting her, Alia called Marinette a friendless failure. Like, goddamn, please give her a break. The girl has no friends. So I feel like the biggest changes that occurred in the movie were in regards to Gabriel. His secret lair isn't in the basement, and we don't actually ever get to see it until the end of the movie. It still is connected to the painting, and he still has to like push the 4 buttons on the painting, but it like opens up into a room that's adjacent to Gabriel's like office workspace. And also another thing, like Emily's physical body isn't revealed until the end of the movie as well. So I'm assuming that they did this because, like, let's say you've never seen Miraculous before, you would just think that Gabriel's wife is dead. You know what I mean? Like dead and gone. But that doesn't stop Gabe from constantly hallucinating about her. So essentially everyone gets introduced. Marinette goes to school and guess who's there? My boy Luca Slay! Luca Slay! He's actually homeschooled in the show, so he is not supposed to be there, but I'm glad that he had his little appearances. I love him so much. I'm glad he was part of the fun. They also changed the way Marinette and Adrian met for the first time. No umbrellas, no in the rain shit. So Marinette is running away from Chloe because Chloe is like harassing her, and she takes refuge in the library. She's looking at these books and then she pulls one, you know, from the bookshelf and she sees Adrian and they look at each other through the bookcase. It was so cute. Then Marinette fell down because of her clumsiness and then Adrian reached out his hand to her, and then that's the moment that she fell in love, and then he helped her up and it was so cute again. Also, I low-key love Adrian in this movie. For one, he's angstier. He constantly has his earbuds in walking around school alone because, you know, his mother died. He isn't afraid to stand up to Gabe, as you'll see later. He is super sassy and dramatic as Cat Noir. Just everything is giving. Obviously, Adrian is all of those things in the show, but I feel like the movie just did it in such a way that was like... So anyway, after that interaction in the library, Adrian leaves and he was like, she's so weird. Then Gabe becomes Hawkmoth for the first time, which causes Master Fu to whip out the Ladybug and Cat Miraculouses. Except the Miraculouses, aka Plague and Tiki, were more so the ones who chose their holders rather than Master Fu. Marinette ended up saving Master Fu from getting hit by a bus, which caused Tiki to choose her to be Ladybug. And then Plague chose Adrian, even though my boy did nothing. Like, Adrian didn't interact with Master Fu. He was just sitting in his room. Tiki and Marinette have a song because Tiki has to convince her to become Ladybug, and then Ladybug and Cat Noir show themselves for the first time. Y'all, my Lady Noir heart is bursting. This is the Lady Noir that I've been missing so much, you know, in the show. I feel like we haven't seen this dynamic in so long, since like season 1 maybe. The banter was immaculate, the vibes were immaculate, Cat Noir's mask was sparkly. This movie for sure is for the Lady Noir gays, guys, and girlies. Holy fuck. Cat Noir was being so silly and dramatic. He was pretending to be this like cool hero who's been doing this for a while, trying to pretend like he knew what he was doing. He kept joking around calling her his sidekick until she saved his ass, and he was like, maybe I'm the sidekick. No, you're not. No, you're not, Cat Noir. You're supposed to be partners. You're supposed to be, you know what? Don't even get me started. So another thing that's interesting is that the akumatized villains that we see in the movie are not any of the ones that we see in the show. Like, they created completely different characters, with one exception being the mime. For whatever reason, they were like, let's bring in the mime. But the first villain that they face in this movie is a giant gargoyle. And do you know how he gets deakumatized? A train slams into his giant body. Now, this is a major change here, folks. There's no akumatized object. I'm not really sure what the rules are here for deakumatization. If you get like slammed hard enough, does the butterfly just like pop right out of you? Is it when Gabriel feels like his villain has been defeated? Like, what exactly are the parameters here? And also, there's no lucky charm, which is interesting because it's like, what's her main superpower then? Because Cat Noir still has his cataclysm, but Ladybug doesn't have her lucky charm. And you know, at the end where she throws up her lucky charm and is like, miraculous Ladybug, everything's fixed, that's not how it works in the movie. Because she doesn't have the lucky charm, that whole sequence doesn't happen happen, although later we will see that she is still capable of fixing everything. Anyway, so when Ladybug and Cat Noir defeat the gargoyle villain, Cat Noir is on the floor and Ladybug reaches out her hand to help him up, a little parallel to the Adrianette scene from before, and fucking Careless Whisper plays and then Cat Noir falls in love. Whoever made that song choice, brilliant. Brilliant. So it's at this point that Master Fu, who's in disguise for whatever reason, goes up to Ladybug and Cat Noir and starts explaining what they actually need to do. They need to defeat Hawkmoth and they need to fight him together because together they're stronger. Their miraculouses are the yin and yang to one another, the balance. Otherwise, they won't be able to defeat Hawkmoth. Balance, right. Yeah, it was really fucking balanced when Ladybug single-handedly defeated Gabe in the season 5 finale. Explain that, Master Fu. Is the teamwork in the room with us right now? Then Cat Noir has a song. We are finally introduced to Plague, who is just constantly farting all over the place. After their first battle, Marinette was low-key having a panic attack. Meanwhile, Adrian was just in his room being delusional, which very on brand. I mentioned before that I love the way that they portray Adrian in this film, but I also love the way that they portray Marinette. Marinette ends up deciding that she's not worthy of being Ladybug, and she rips off her earrings and throws them out the window. Obviously that didn't work because Tiki just came back like a boomerang, but still iconic behavior. Later in the movie, she also calls Chloe's hair a rat's nest. Then, of course, Gabriel had to have a song, and I'm not gonna lie, low-key, it slapped. I would even go as far as to say that it was my favorite song in the film, but don't you let that go to your head, Gabriel. You still suck ass. You're still a piece of trash person. So he akumatized a bunch of people at once in order to get the miraculouses, and I'm still not entirely sure where these villains came from. During the song, there was a little sequence where he went to this dungeon prison-like looking thing and there was just a bunch of people there and ready to get akumatized. I don't really know. I don't know. Anyway, Marinette had another song about becoming Ladybug again. Her transformation was beautiful. Then Lady Noir starts really making strides. Cat Noir is being very flirtatious. He ends up pinning Ladybug against a wall after they were like play fighting. She was like, oh, I should really go home now. And he was like, don't. He was like, don't. Then later, Cat Noir invited her to this empty theater. There was a piano on stage. He starts playing her a fucking song, and then Lady Noir has a duet. They end up dancing in the clouds. And then they were about to kiss, but then she was like, no. There's someone else. I'm so sorry. So he was heartbroken, and then the next day, Marinette actually had the courage to ask Adrian to the upcoming ball. Like, that's right, folks, there's going to be a fucking masquerade ball. But then Adrian turned her down because there's somebody else, and then she got all depressed as well, so now they're both depressed. The biggest character change for this movie, arguably, is Gabriel. So after Cat Noir was rejected by Ladybug, Adrian went back home, and Gabe came down the stairs looking disheveled as hell, and he was like, Adrian, where were you? I was so worried. Bitch, who are you? And then Adrian stood up to him, talked smack. It was glorious. So then Gabe akumatizes himself. The world starts going to shit. Marinette was fighting alone for a while because Adrian was in his feels, but eventually he realized, he looked out the window, saw that the world was going to shit, and then transformed and broke through his window. Ladybug and Cat Noir weren't working together because of the tension in the air, and Cat Noir ended up fighting Hawkmoth alone on top of the Eiffel Tower. He accidentally cataclysmed the entire Eiffel Tower, so he fell all the way to the ground into like a body of water. Ladybug had to swim and save him, and she pulled him onto like this hunk of metal, I'm assuming from the broken Eiffel Tower. Cat Noir is unconscious through this whole process after he like hit the water. So then Hawkmoth, he goes up to the two of them, uses some sort of fucking Jedi force on Ladybug, lifts her into the air, and then rips off her earrings. Then he throws her down, starts lifting up Cat Noir to do the same thing, but Marinette like jumps in front of him to stop that. She is then cast aside away from the action. She can still see and hear everything that's gonna go on between Gabriel and Cat Noir, but Cat Noir isn't gonna be able to see her. So Marinette is on the sidelines, and Cat Noir's mask is like half off, I guess, from his interaction with Hawkmoth. And so Hawkmoth walks up to him and he sees Cat Noir's face and he's like, oh my god, it's Adrian. My man is horrified. He immediately deakumatizes himself, fixes like a bunch of the damages that he caused, then renounced the butterfly miraculous. Hello? So like now Marinette and Master Fu, they're in possession of the butterfly miraculous. I think this is the first time in miraculous history that we've ever seen that. Gabe is actually remorseful, crying on his fucking knees. He says, I failed you, son, and then Adrian puts his hand on his shoulder and he's like, you have to let her go, Dad. Oh my god, where was this in the actual show? This was literally what I wanted to happen to some extent. Then Marinette figures out she has miraculous ladybug powers and uses that to fix everything, kind of like how Elsa did at the end of Frozen, like, you know, with her defreezing ice powers. So, okay, remember how I said Emily was only revealed at the end of the movie? Well, let's explain this a little bit. So at this point, she has not been shown yet, even still. And so I saw Gabe being all remorseful and shit, and I was like, maybe Emily actually did die of natural causes. Because I guess, you know, that would make a bit more sense. That would make Gabe a bit more redeemable because, you know, his wife died of some sort of illness and he was researching, turned to these like mysterious miraculous jewels, and, you know, his grief and his desire to have his wife and his son's mother back in their lives, you know, make their family whole again, caused him to like go off of the deep end. I can understand Gabriel, you know, with that explanation, I guess. That makes him slightly less atrocious of a human being. But here's the thing. At the end of the movie, there's this little scene of Natalie going into Gabriel's secret lair. We see Emily for the first time, and there's Gabriel's voice, you know, a voiceover thing that's like, don't tell Adrian about this, like we have to start doing whatever. I was a little confused. I don't know what the insinuation it was, but the Peacock Miraculous is resting on Emily's chest. So Gabe, you're full of shit. Like, what was all this remorse I was seeing earlier? Why were you looking so disheveled and guilty if you're still back on this hawk moth shit? Except you can't be totally back on that because you gave up the butterfly miraculous. So now all you have left is the peacock. But also, there's one more thing that we need to discuss that happened in this movie. The fucking masquerade ball. At this point, Marinette knows Adrian's identity, but Adrian does not know Marinette's identity. Marinette and Adrian attend. She was wearing this ladybug-esque dress. He was wearing this black cat noir-esque suit, sort of. I mean, it was just a black suit. He's outside, like, in the snow, and she calls out to him and is like, cat noir, and he doesn't see her at first, so he's like, ladybug, and then he turns and sees Marinette standing there, and he puts two and two together for once in his life, and he's like, oh wow, Marinette must be Ladybug. They dance like they did in the clouds as Lady Noir, and then they are right about to kiss when the screen, you know, cuts to black. That we never see the kiss. Tragic. Wow, the cinematography, the drama, I loved it all. The one thing that I wasn't a fan of in this movie was Adrianette, because we saw a little bit of the turmoil with Marinette, like, cause, you know, Cat Noir and Adrian were both in her hearts a little bit, you know, the Lady Noir, I loved it, but we never really saw Adrian fall for Marinette at any point in the movie, but I still had a great time. Let me know your thoughts. Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you get to see it in theaters at any point? I hope y'all had a good time watching this, and I will see y'all next time.